What's up, everyone? We are two bums in a pod. Eric Armstead named us lovingly, I suppose. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Ryan Sakamoto. We're going to talk about our favorite 49er, Eric Armstead, a little later because he played so well last week. But first, we're going to start with the news of the day. Yeah. And it was yesterday. Kyle Shanahan was asked if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the quarterback of the future, if he's going to be here next year. Because there's been a lot of speculation that he won't be, and I think we all kind of agree that he won't be. And Kyle Shanahan said, yeah, he's going to be the quarterback next year. So I have a lot of thoughts about that. But, Ryan, I'd like to hear your thoughts first.
All right. Well, my thought process is I think it's just a huge smokescreen. All right, a huge smokescreen. The reason I say that is because if you look at it from an objective – hold on about this. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. So when you look at it from a standpoint from Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, I think what's happening is they're just trying to build up Jimmy Garoppolo's stock, right? So it's a huge smoke screen in the sense that I don't think they really believe in Jimmy Garoppolo.
Hold on real quick. Is my microphone messed up? Do I sound funny?
No, you sound fine. Do I?
Do I sound fine?
Yeah, do I
People said I sound like I had a deep voice.
Are you serious?
Tell me.
Oh.
Grant sounded like a real NFL coach right now. It's fixed. It's better now. Okay, sorry about that. Let's start over.
Me? Are you sure?
Also, I'm hearing a little bit of an echo of my voice and yours. What's
echo?
up with that? I'll just mute you when I'm talking.
Okay.
It's all good. No, it's like I hear myself. Anyway, let's start over. What do you think of Kyle Shanahan's comments saying that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be on the team next year?
Yeah, I think it's a huge smokescreen. I believe that it's a ploy to kind of gain interest of the other 31 NFL teams who might be interested in Jimmy Garoppolo because of the simple fact that they don't believe in him. And he has zero money tied to him that's guaranteed. He has a $24.1 million cap hit for 2021 with zero dead money tied to it. So if they wanted to wipe their hands clean of Jimmy G and just move on, they could do that with no cap hit on their end whatsoever because there's zero dead money tied to him. However, he has value. And any coach in the NFL believes that they can coach up the deficiencies, which is why I bring up trade value for him. So how do you bring up trade value? Well, you hype up the guy that they have because in return, they can at least get, I don't know, maybe a third-round pick. I know some people say first-round pick, some people say second-round pick, but that's what the Patriots gave up for in return for Jimmy Garoppolo, for trading him away. They got a second-round pick in return. So I think the compensation is more of a second to a third-round pick. We'll just have to see how that plays out. But in terms of what Kyle Shanahan said, that he expects Jimmy Garoppolo to be the starter, let's face it. Let's be honest about it, Grant. Of course he expects him to be the starter because who else do they have in line behind him right now on the current roster? Nobody.
No one.
Things change in present day. I have expectations today, but the same expectations today are not the same expectations tomorrow.
Right. And so what Kyle can say is like, yeah, we expected to have Jimmy Garoppolo, but at the same time, when you asked me that question, I didn't expect to have a chance to draft Zach Wilson, and he just fell into my lap. Or I didn't expect to have a chance to trade for Matt Ryan. He just fell into my lap. Things change. Yeah, it really means very little right now that he's saying, yeah, Jimmy's the guy for next year. Because it depends on who's available when they draft.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But I want to come back to what you're saying real quick about value. If they get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, the idea isn't to cut him. I mean, before the season started, he was probably worth a first-round pick before the season started.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, then he has a terrible week 1, gets hurt week 2, and now you're questioning what his value is because around the league, the perception is not only that he's injury-prone, but that Kyle doesn't like him. Yeah. So why would you offer a first-round pick if those two things are true? Kyle needs to at least change the second perception and say, yeah, I like him. I want him. And then teams will be like, all right, well, maybe they're not going to cut him. And when I say teams, I'm saying New England in particular. New England.
Right.
They have no quarterback. Cam Newton, I don't think, is the long-term answer. Now, maybe they'll be in position to draft Zach Wilson themselves, and they won't want Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think that's what they're saying. Like, look, if you want him to New England, you got to give us something because we still like him. We still like him.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I broke it down in an earlier podcast that I listed 3 AFC teams, and Patriots were the front runner. Another team is the Denver Broncos, because if you remember, the Denver Broncos head coach is Vic Fangio, and who did he have at quarterback all these years? It was Alex Smith. And what was he doing? He was a game manager, but they still won. So I think he can use that same philosophy in Denver and still win with a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo.
DJG from Cali says draft a quarterback and keep Garoppolo. That might be what they do. It just seems like an expensive option. I mean, first round quarterback still is going to run you about $5-6 million.
And you have to re-sign Fred Warner. I mean, where's this money going to come from? Money doesn't grow on trees. $24.1 million on the books, and then you bring in a first-round quarterback on the books. And then people say they want Matt Ryan or Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford has a $33 million cap hit next year, and Matt Ryan has a 40-point-something million cap hit. So you're doing yourself a disservice by making all these assumptions when you really don't know. And when you work the numbers, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because where's the money going to come from?
I agree. And I think what's going on is that Fred Warner is better than they expected. I'm muting you real quick but when I'm done, I'll put you back on because there's feedback. I think he's better than they expected. When they brought in Quan Alexander, they didn't think Fred Warner was going to be a superstar. When they started this season, they didn't think that Fred Warner would end up establishing himself as the best player on the team, the best middle linebacker in football, and someone who's worth $20 million a year because he is worth that. So where's that money going to come from, especially in this bizarre year where the salary cap goes down instead of going up 10%? So, I mean, if it doesn't come from Jimmy Garoppolo, where is it going to come from?
Great points. And it goes to the free agents, right? They have 25 plus unrestricted free agents coming up. Where's the money going to come from? That's a great point, Grant. I break it down to the offensive line. I think you can wipe your hands clean of Laken Tomlinson, wipe your hands clean of Weston Richburg. And then obviously the obvious choice, D Ford, is on his way out. I don't see him coming back. So you're saving $6.4 million off the books there. There's a lot of moving parts. And then you have to re-sign Trent Williams, right? I think the left tackle Trent Williams, I think he was making $12.9 million this year. So if you take the players I just stated and releasing those players, well, are you going to re-sign Trent Williams with the money that you just saved, or are you going to go in a different direction? This team is in cap hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, Carlos Carrillo says, why would he? But do you think Jimmy Garoppolo restructures his contract? Yeah. Why would Jimmy Garoppolo agree to a pay cut on a team that isn't really committed to him anyway? No. Now, a guy like maybe Alex Smith in 2008, who had no leverage, might agree to something like that. But Jimmy Garoppolo, the Patriots like him. He knows it. He doesn't feel at the mercy of the 49ers. If the Niners want to move on, I'm sure he'd be happy to go too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, the reunion with him and Bill Belichick, not having Tom Brady there, will just supplant Bill Belichick as who's the better of the two. You know, Tom Brady always said Bill Belichick, or Tom Brady. You know, you watch all these NFL pundits and analysts say who is better. Well, obviously, when you have two together who are at the top of their games, it's going to elevate
each other better. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So look, Kyle, I mean, I don't fault him for what he said. When Eric Branch said, Kyle, directly, is Jimmy Garoppolo going to be your quarterback next year? What's he going to say? I don't know. We'll see. He's under contract for 3 more years. And they're trying to convince Jimmy Garoppolo to come back and play week 16 and 17. And they're trying to build up his trade value, which has taken a huge hit. How can they do any of those things if Kyle Shanahan comes out and is like, yeah, I don't really know, probably not.
And here's the thing that no one really talks about, Grant, is you got to look at from an NFL as a business, right? So his agent, you think he's going to be like, oh, yeah, let's restructure your deal and take a hometown discount because we love the Niners. No, it's a business. That's taking money out of his pocket.
Yeah. What incentive does Jimmy Garoppolo have to do that? Because of how nicely the Niners have treated him? Because of how they took his word for it when they said he was hurt? I'm telling you, that when that report came out that there was a difference of opinion on the severity of his ankle, I was like, it's over. It's over. That is like when you know the divorce is coming. I don't know what the comparison would be between a man and a woman, but it's over. There's no coming back. That is a deal breaker. It's like basically cheating on your wife. Like there's nothing you can say. It's over. It's over. You could stay together, but it's like the least, it's a toxic relationship. It's got to be. It's over. Yeah. So, all right. Should we move on?
Yep.
Richard Sherman is going to be coming back, and this is really interesting because Hall of Fame player, quarterbacks are still nervous to throw in his area. He still will get a few picks a year, but the defense has played great without him. And not only that, they have a new identity without him. They're a man-to-man coverage defense with some zone sprinkled in, as opposed to when he's on the field, they're basically pure zone. So I'm not trying to lead you in a direction, but what are the pros and cons of Richard Sherman coming back?
Man, I said it last year, bro. I said once they got rid of DeForest Buckner and people were saying, "Oh, we couldn't afford DeForest Buckner." Yes, you could. I said the power move was to release Richard Sherman, save 12.9 million off the books. Don't re-sign Eric Armstead and give him that big money contract, save 6 million there, and then you could re-sign DeForest Buckner. They didn't want to do it, so they traded him away. I thought he was 1 year overdue to be gone. I thought they should have released him last year because of the injuries, because what happened in the Super Bowl and leading up to the Super Bowl. I've been saying all along that he's playing on his last legs. He's in the twilight of his career. Now, what Sherman does bring to the table, let's look at the pros, professionalism, leadership in the locker room, veteran, right? Like you said, he will get 2 or 3 interceptions a game, and he does do a good job because he's so savvy in reading key defense. But at the end of the day, you can't really vouch for his cap number. It just doesn't make sense. And you pointed out, Grant, you made a great point. The defense has created identity without him playing more cover 1. They're not playing cover 3. And that's all due to what? Playing man-to-man coverage and learning how to scheme up plays based on the personnel that you have. And Saleh's doing a really good job of adapting to the personnel. Now, he's not perfect. I mean, I don't think he should be doing cover 1 when you're playing against DK Metcalf, but overall, he's doing a nice job.
Well, it's just so hard against the Seahawks because if you play cover 2, if you play too deep, then you're just going to get beaten by Russell Wilson running. So it's tough. Yeah. But what I want to say in terms of Richard Sherman is I think it's a tough one because if say you bring Richard Sherman back and you bench Emmanuel Moseley, all right? So quarterbacks are going to be more afraid to throw into Sherman's coverage than Moseley's coverage. That's true. But the way I see it is Moseley can play man in zone, Verrett can play man in zone, Sherman can't. And I've seen how Robert Saleh calls games with Sherman on the field. He doesn't want to expose Sherman. He wants to put Sherman in the best position to succeed. And that hurts the rest of the defense because that means calling cover 3 and cover 4 every single play. And while Richard Sherman, his numbers will look good at the end of the game because he's not getting targeted, everyone else gets burned because there's no disguise in your coverage. The quarterbacks know what's coming, and especially against good offenses with good quarterbacks, they just shred zone. We saw it in the Super Bowl. So Richard Sherman coming back, he'd put up good numbers, but he would limit what Robert Saleh could call, and I think the defense would get worse. There's no reason to switch up the secondary when they just shut down Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. I don't see how he could possibly make it better than what it is right now.
Yeah, great point. And piggybacking on what you just said on the scheme difference with Sherman in the lineup, with him out of the lineup, Sherman is always playing with a 5 to 6 yard cushion. He's not protecting the sticks, even if it's 3rd and short. So when you take that into account, Sherman knows that he'll get beat on a double move. So he plays it safe, period.
Yeah. And also Robert Saleh knows that Richard Sherman can't cover a deep over route or a crossing route on any down. So that's why he's not calling man-to-man. And think about it. I mean, if he can defend a fade route because he's savvy and he can use press coverage at the line of scrimmage and use the sideline. But a deep over route, that's just a race that he's going to lose. That's just a race he's going to lose, or a crossing route or a cross stop and go back the other direction. These are all things he can't cover. So he always has to have zone help in the middle, zone help underneath. It puts everyone else in a bad position. If I were Robert Saleh, I'd say, Sherman, you're back. Great. You're our number 3 outside corner. If Emmanuel Moseley gets hurt or Jason Verrett gets hurt, we're going to you because we can't trust Akello. But right now, we got a good thing going with Jason Verrett and Emmanuel Moseley, and we're not going to mess with it. It's working. That's what I feel. So Sherman, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
Don't call us. We'll call you. Real quick before we move on to the next topic, I want to go back to the previous topic. Kevin Wang paid $5 to ask this question. It's a good question, so I want to ask it. I want to answer it. Grant, are you scared that if Kyle drafts a bust quarterback, he would waste 6 years of everyone's prime? Kyle would never admit wrong. Look at how he's stuck with Pettis. It's a good point. Look, before you answer, what I would have to say is I think the issue with Kyle, his problem is if he waits until round 3 again. If you wait and pass on all these top quarterbacks and think you can be really smart and clever and get the next CJ Beathard or the next Kirk Cousins in round 4, you played yourself. Just get one of these first-round picks and trust that you're a good enough coach, your system is up to date enough, and that the supporting cast is good enough, and that if he were to succeed anywhere, it would be with you. Just trust yourself.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much you just nailed it. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think you can't wait until the third or fourth round to get your guy because at the end of the day, you tried that experiment and ultimately it failed. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior, and we've seen what he did with CJ Beathard. He even went on air and said it multiple times that we weren't waiting till the fourth round to grab CJ Beathard. That's why we traded up for him. Well, he's supposed to be the successor. He was supposed to be the guy. People tend to forget that he was the guy and he failed. But no one's talking about it now. No one's talking about it now.
Yeah. And the way I look at it too, with the last 4 years or so, the first round picks, quarterbacks, the only quarterback that really, really busted the last 4 years to me is Josh Rosen. He's been on multiple teams. No one likes him. But the other ones who haven't done that well, to me, you can chalk it up to being drafted by bad teams. Trubisky, Darnold, Daniel Jones. I think these quarterbacks come into the league really pro ready. And if your team has anything going for it, a good offense, a good coach, they should be fine. Look at Tua. I didn't think Tua would be any good. He came from Alabama, where no quarterback has ever succeeded going into the NFL. He had all those first-round picks around him. He's fine. He may not be great, but he's winning.
Yeah, man. It's a fine line. I'm a huge Bama fan, but I thought Tua was going to be good. But injury prone, though, right? So, I mean, we talk about this all the time, Grant. What's the risk reward when you draft a player that high? It came back to his injuries, right? He's getting injured left and right. So it was a huge risk for the Dolphins to take, but I'm glad they made the move. I thought the right move to make.
Okay, I want to move on to the running back position because we don't need to talk about 2021 the entire time. I know Niner fans are kind of done with this season, but the team is 4-6. Don't be spoiled. Just because you watched a 13-3 team last season doesn't mean that you can just check out at 4-6. The season isn't over. And what I want to ask is, it's a run-first team. When they're starting Jerick McKinnon, I think they have no chance to win. Nothing against Jerick McKinnon. Well, yeah, I think he's done. And he certainly isn't a starter. Isn't there someone on the street that the Niners can call now who would be a better lead back than Jerick McKinnon if they're at that level? Isn't there anyone?
It's a great question, Grant. I mean, I think you have some answers for that. I think you have some options
got a
for
name.
that.
I mean, I got a name.
See, I know you have a name,
but he's not super exciting. But I mean, do you have a name? I can throw his name out there if
I'll
you
put
want
a
to
name out there.
Okay.
I'll put a name out there just because it's a Bay Area kid. He was a rival of the 49ers for many years. He would bring some kind of oomph and hype movement to the San Francisco 49ers, and that's Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch may not be a perfect and ideal fit for Kyle Shanahan's offense, but he's a good goal line and situational player. If you remember for the last game versus the 49ers, and then leading into the playoffs, he had 4 touchdowns in 3 games, including the playoffs. So for anyone who says, oh, he's past his prime, that may be true, but better than the 49ers have right now on the roster. Is anyone
Yeah. No, honestly, I would rather start Marshawn Lynch off the couch than Jerick McKinnon next game. But I got another name, and this is maybe not the most exciting, but he's 26. Okay? He's 26 years old. He started 51 games in the NFL. He's had 2,000-yard seasons. He's had 4 seasons where he's had at least 6 rushing touchdowns. And this isn't a 5-season career. Unless I'm tripping. Is Jordan Howard not a free agent?
He is. They just released him.
Jordan Howard. Now this year he had a terrible year. He had 28 rushes, 33 yards, 4 touchdowns. But Miami moved on. They didn't like him. Last year for Philadelphia, averaged 4.4 yards per carry. I mean, he ain't great, but he's better than Jerick freaking McKinnon. Why not?
What do they have to lose, Grant? What do they have to lose? They're losing already. You have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose.
I mean, he'd be better in blitz pickup. He'd be better running on first and second down. And then when you want to throw to a running back, then bring in Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I like that. I like that pick.
He's 26. John Lynch, I know you're watching. Go give Jordan Howard's agent a call. He's waiting for you. He's just sitting there like this. Come on. Win this game. Like, I don't think they can really expect much from Raheem Mostert, his first game back from a serious knee injury. They shouldn't just rush him. They could hurt him. Same with Deebo Samuel. They're going to need someone. They need Jordan Howard to take him to the finish line. Call him up.
with all these gadget plays that Shanahan runs for the last better half of 2-3 years now, teams are starting to pick up on that. So when you do these jet sweeps, they're countering that, and you're seeing it. You're seeing tackles made for loss or stuffs made at or near behind the line of scrimmage. So Shanahan has to do something, and you need a featured back to get it done. At the end of the day, that's just plain and simple.
Well, what Dennis Allen did to shut down the Niners run game and gadget plays was the slot blitz, run blitzes. I mean, when the Niners tried that end around to Brandon Ayuk, he ran into a slot blitz from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I didn't have much respect for Dennis Allen, but he outcoached Kyle Shanahan in that game. I mean, Kyle Shanahan was shorthanded, but that adjustment from Dennis Allen, the slot blitz was great, and it worked both against the Niners run game and pass game, and Kyle Shanahan never had a real solution for it. Interesting.
Yeah, and that's in today's day, right? Like today's slot cornerbacks, that's what you see from Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Hilton, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from the New Orleans Saints, and then obviously our very own K'Wan Williams. They all slot from that position, and they play the slot differently than in years past when you had a Ray Mickens or Aaron Glenn when you moved to the slot. So nowadays, you're asking your slot cornerback to blitz more and be an extra defender, but also in pass rush too, because you don't know where the blitz is coming from these days. And if you're not mixing things up and giving exotic looks, you're doing yourself a disservice in the pass-happy league.
Real quick before we move on to Eric Armstead, our favorite topic, Kevin again asks, Grant, do you think Kyle smirking equals he watches your vids? Oh, 100%. And what I want to say is my dad and I are going to do a bonus emergency live pod at 2 today. Real quick to talk about that topic exactly. So tune in later today. Just a little teaser. All right, we need to talk about Eric Armstead because Eric Armstead is our favorite player on the 49ers. We've always said that he's great and the best. He loves us. We're his favorite beat writers on the beat. And we always like to point out good things that Eric Armstead did. So in the last game, Eric Armstead had a clip in the first quarter. It was a 6-yard loss to Kamara. And Eric Armstead was on the field for the play, but he wasn't exactly trying. It was on the other side of the field, and he kind of just waltzed over. And then the play kept going and going because no one could bring down Kamara because he's an alien. And as every Niner just ran at him and dove at him and gave their best effort, Eric Armstead was like, oh, wait, let me try, almost. And then right as Kamara goes down and Tavarius Moore tackles him, Eric Armstead rushes over and tackles Tavarius Moore to look like he was doing something, which I thought was just classic Eric Armstead. So when you saw that play live, were you surprised, Ryan?
No, because I do game grades all the time, every single game, not just the Niners, but all 32 NFL teams. And Eric Armstead leads the team with 17 missed tackles versus the run. So it's not surprising at all. He's also 7 missed tackles. He has 7 missed tackles, with ranked second on the team, 17 missed assignments versus the run. So it's not all that surprising that he ranks worse when it comes to run grades. Now, pass rush is a different story, but we're not even seeing the pass rush this year. So I'm really
just talking
Eric Armstead. No, his effort has been there, man. That's something that I pointed out before he called me an amateur fanboy, short man syndrome, ego lifter. I posted clips of that. You go back to the Chiefs game a few years ago. I just posted clips up and just criticizing his play, and then he got bent out of shape over it, saying I'm taking away his livelihood, which is fine, but I wasn't because it's not me, the one that's playing. I mean, you don't like it, play better, bro. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. We're seeing it, and this is the year. I just want to point this out. This is the year that Eric Armstead should be having what quote unquote Pro Bowl season, even though there is no Pro Bowl this year, because there's so many other players, Grant, that are getting it done without Pro Bowl talent around them. You look at Fletcher Cox, you look at Grady Jarrett, you look at Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns. They have no Pro Bowl talent around them, and they're still getting it done. So for anyone to say that Eric Armstead is a Pro Bowl type player, even Eric Armstead yourself, you're doing yourself a disservice, because when you're upset about not making the Pro Bowl last year, what is that saying about your own team at Nick Bosa, who actually made the Pro Bowl team? Or that you're better than him? And who are you going to leave out? Cameron Jordan and Danielle Hunter? Those are top 5 edge rushers all game long. So I don't understand the
Let's stick there for a second, because I remember when that happened. I was in the locker room, and Eric Armstead that day hadn't gotten in to the Pro Bowl while others in the Niners had. He stood at his locker with the way I remember it was he had his hoodie on low over his eyes and was like, I'm not like on the verge of crying, but was really mad. And every question was, this is not fair. It's not right. And he never said like, well, I'd like to congratulate Nick Bosa. I'd like to congratulate my teammates, this guy and this guy, which is what you normally hear from like the real professional guys. Like, it's not about me. It's not about me. That'll take care of itself. I want to command X, Y, Z. That was not him. When he was talking like that, I was thinking, oh, this guy he's T.O.
He's selfish. He's selfish. It's a selfish act. And let me just put one most important fact on the table. When you're in first place and your main goal is to win the Super Bowl, but yet you're worried about individual accolades, what is your true calling? That you're more concerned about individual accolades and I'm going to get mine, or the team. Everything has to be for the team. Period. End of story.
Yeah. Before we move on from Armstead, the thing about his effort, Robert Saleh has a thing. First of all, he has these mantras, right? He says all gas, no brakes. That ain't Armstead. Okay. He also says something. You tell how hard hitting your defense is by how your DBs hit. And you can tell how fast your defense is by how hard your defensive linemen pursue plays down the field. And whenever the Niners would talk about that, that was Buckner. Buckner always plays 100%. He plays to the whistle. He never stops. He did it as a rookie when the team was 2-14. He does it for Indianapolis. He just plays at a certain standard. No matter what, winning, losing, good, bad, he plays hard. Not Armstead. He played hard last year when the team was good and he needed a contract. This year, no. Also, in the Super Bowl, biggest game of his life, loafing after plays, jogging after plays. Not to the extent that he did a couple of days ago, but if he did it in the biggest game of his life before he got paid, what were the Niners expecting? So when the Niners went from Buckner to Armstead, it wasn't just a step down in talent. It was a step down in effort, which is leadership, and that stuff rubs off. Now, thank goodness for the Niners that Kerry Hyder doesn't take Eric Armstead's lead and play like that, because Kerry Hyder plays very hard.
Yeah, man, I put some clips up of Kerry Hyder's hustle where he chased side the play backside 5 yards behind the play and chased down Alvin Kamara. And getting back to your point about Saleh, I actually had that conversation with Robert Saleh, and he said one of the things that he liked about DeForest Buckner was his ability to chase away from the play. He's never out of the play, and if he is out of the play, it doesn't look like he's out of the play because he's putting in 110% effort. Now, some players will call it corny, but at the end of the day, corny is what the coaches want. So if you want to be on the field, be corny.
Yeah. That's fun. I like that. They called Buckner corny for playing hard?
No. Some player tweeted to me that the play was corny.
Whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's enough, Armstead. It's just, we're not surprised. This is, guys, what you saw in that game is basically what Armstead has done his entire career. And I think that's why you got to wonder, how much does he love the sport?
Right.
You know, I don't have to wonder that with Buckner. All right. Before we move on, I got a couple questions. First from Nick Bean. Hey, Grant, love your content, and I can tell you really enjoy your job. Thank you. Have you ever seen any film from Brock Purdy from Iowa State? No. Have you?
No.
I don't even know who Brock Purdy is. Nick, I'll get back to you on that. Thank you for bringing them to my attention. Angel Garcia says, we should call Brock Rutter the undrafted QB we cut. He's mobile, nice pocket awareness, good arm, great deep ball. He's a winner. He Russ-like. Ooh, look, I've never actually seen Brock Rutter play. He played at some really small school and didn't have his highlights on YouTube. So I don't know. I didn't get to see him play in training camp either. I've never seen him play. I don't know. But sure, I mean, give him a shot. All right, let's move on. Yeah. Let's project some futures. What is the future of the offensive line? Is this you alluded to it earlier. You said get rid of Lake and Tomlinson, get rid of Weston Richburg. You start there, right?
Yeah, you got to start there, man, because you got to clear cap space with 25 unrestricted free agents. I mean, you got to look at it as a prioritization list. And with your GM, John Lynch, you got to make the hard, tough decisions. And the offensive line is already in shambles. So I would just clean house because you have to resign who? Middle linebacker Fred Warner. We've been saying it since day one, bro. Like, you have to resign your quarterback of the defense. You have to. I don't care how you get it done. You got to get it done. At the expense of other players, so be it. But middle linebacker Fred Warner is the heart and soul of the defense. He's the number one middle linebacker in the NFL. You need to clear up cap space on the offensive line in order to retain him first. Because if you don't have Fred Warner, now you're in a deeper hole. And fans will go ape crap if they lose to Forrest Buckner and
Yep.
Fred Warner in back-to-back
Right.
seasons.
Can't lose Warner. Not going to happen.
Hope so.
Yeah, they can't let it happen.
Let's hope.
Can't let it happen. Yeah.
Let's hope.
So, yeah, the two highest paid guys, Richburg and Lakin, got to go. Trent Williams, do you bring him back?
I don't see how they can, Grant, because what is he at? $12.9 million this year? He's going to ask for at least that much. And
he's going to ask for way more than that.
Yeah.
He's going to ask for 18.
There you go, 18 million. So if you're looking at whatever that number is, it's definitely more than, in around that 15 million range. Where's the money going to come from? It doesn't grow on trees again. So he has to go because there's no money. You have no money.
Yeah.
You have no money.
Now, look, Justin School looks awful this year. Mike McGlinchey looks awful this year. But to be fair, I'm going to mute you real quick because I hear myself a little bit. But to be fair, they lost Joe Staley this year, which I think is kind of like losing the offensive line coach. I think he was the one who would keep every guy accountable in terms of their weight, their training, and their play. I think he'd be the one to say, you need to step it up. And I don't think Trent Williams has that type of investment on this team. So losing Staley, one, and then not having OTAs and minicamp where these guys could be around a training staff and they all had to do things on their own, I think it's clear that they blew it. I think maybe if Joe Staley had been able to monitor them and babysit Mike McGlinchey and say, you got to do these workouts, you got to eat this much a day, then they would have been fine. But what we saw is Mike McGlinchey basically blow his quarantine training regimen. And you know what? Fair enough. It must have been really tough. And I'm sure some players did better with that than others. Maybe next year, if he has a full offseason with the Niners training, maybe I wouldn't give up on McGlinchey just yet because he's been so much worse this year than the past couple of years. I never really liked him, but I'd like to see him maybe like put on 10 pounds of muscle and get back to what he used to be before you just give up on him.
Yeah, I mean, funny story. When I was in the locker room, Mike McGlinchey's rookie year, he looks at me and says, how do I get arms like that? And I said, come train with me, bro. And he was actually serious. He looked at me like, are you being serious right now? Like, for real? Like, I can train with you? So that's a story with Mike McGlinchey and myself that we had in the locker room, and we were just talking back and forth. But getting to your point, without a proper off-season program, it's really hard for the professional players to really get in fine-tune and in game shape with no preseason and no proper OTAs, no training camp, because what you're doing, Grant, is being in the industry and being a professional athlete requires certain things. Stretching is first and foremost. So you see a lot of ACL tears, right? Well, a lot of soft tissue injuries are occurring, and that's because these players were so accustomed and trained because of the muscle memory over the course of the years. Okay, January to February is usually when I take the time off, and then we jumpstart it back in March. Well, everything was expedited, or either expedited and you're doing your own workouts without your own strength coach, personal coach, because as you know, you can't work with the actual coach during the off season. And when you don't have that, someone to guide you in that direction or tell you, like you just said, the dietary formula that you need to take to maintain your gains, you're just going to regress. And then on top of that, when you step onto the field, running side field, seeing these drills on Instagram and all these things that they're running and cutting, well, you're going to injure yourself because if you don't have a coach or someone that's there to guide you along the way, injuries are going to
mess something up.
Yeah.
Look at the two hardest working Niners on the team, the two hardest workers in the weight room, Nick Bosa, George Kittle.
Yeah.
Injured.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick Bosa tore at ACL, George Kittle, non-contact foot fracture. I'm not saying it's because of their off-season work regimen. I'm not saying it's not. It's just interesting. The only player on this team who really got the most out of quarantine lifting is Fred Warner. That guy looked like he'd been with the Niners training staff. He really didn't blow that. But George Kittle, hard to say. Nick Bosa, we'll never know. I mean, they mean well, they work out hard, but working out hard isn't the same as working out smart, the way you would with professionals monitoring you. Also, as an amateur lifter myself, as someone who goes in the gym every once in a while, I can imagine that you would work out much harder if someone's monitoring you than if you're on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. Even with my coach, when I hit with my coach, when I train and when I'm on prep for my show, I train a lot differently. Now, my mindset's still the same. You're still going 110%, but the reps and the sets and the name of gains and the rest periods, you have to have a coach to guide you because you're doing heavy lifting, you're doing hypertrophy, you're doing a lot of strength training exercises in between those sets. You're trying to build up your blood flow to maximize the blood flow. And in order to do that, you have to have the right supplements during your workout, after your workout, and before your workout in order to maintain those gains. And without a proper coaching regimen to get you to that point, you're doing yourself a disservice and injuries will occur.
Right. So what I'd like to say with McGlinchey is you really can't give up on him. They spent a first-round pick on him. They get no cap savings by moving on. They're invested. They got to figure this out. He's clearly 10 pounds underweight or not strong enough. They need to reinvest in his physical fitness. But at the same time, they need to have a plan B. And the plan B can't be like Jonathan Martin. You know, the plan B has to be someone who is like an NFL caliber starter. You know, not just a guy you kind of like Colton McKivitz or Justin School. So they got to figure something out, man. And to me, like, it almost doesn't matter what quarterback they bring in next year, what upgrade they try to make at that position, if they're still going to trot out Tom Compton and Laken Tomlinson. You know, Jimmy Garoppolo's injury came from Laken Tomlinson missing a block, who was the McKittrick Award winner.
There you go. So, so
they got to figure that out.
Yeah, exactly. You hit it.
Real quick before we move on, question from ET49er7. Do you think we're going to be able to keep Raheem Mostert, or do you think he will ask for too much? Well, he's under contract. He's not going to be asking for a raise after missing the whole season. I don't think the Niners are going to cut him because their alternative is Jerick McKinnon and Tevin Coleman. I think Raheem Mostert should be here next year. I mean, am I wrong?
No,
they could save money. He's coming back.
No, he's not going anywhere, bro.
He's still at a bargain at whatever they're paying him. One more question from Sean, and then we'll do some more stuff. Just a second. Here we go. McButt Lynchy, I like that. Couldn't stop my 10-month-old on a blitz. But your 10-month-old is definitely physical, Sean. Whose bright idea was it to go vegan now? Is he vegan?
I had no idea.
Is McGlinchey vegan? Hold on. Did I miss that? You know, I think you'd think I would know because I cover the team. Hold on. Let me just type McGlinchey vegan. I don't know about that. No. Oh my God, I think you're right. Central Michigan lineman Joe Staley's lost 50 pounds since retiring in April. I think he's gone vegan. And then, McGlinchey. No, I think Staley went vegan. And I don't know about McGlinchey, but then again, oh man, really? He is. People saying he went vegan. Why do they do this? What is up with that? It didn't help Colin Kaepernick. You could hear Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly was always mad about that. He's like, look, he's not the same Kaepernick he was. He's 20 pounds lighter. Yeah.
He did not like it. No, people go vegan and professional athletes go vegan because, I mean, like I'm in the industry, right? So I hear and I see what's going on. So there's a lot of fads, a lot of diets out there. And the whole vegan diet is basically you're trying to gain more energy by putting yourself in a state where you're not depending on, I would consider like third-party food. So when you eat an animal byproduct like meat, like red meat especially, because that's where you get the most of your protein, testosterone comes from red meat. When you get that and then you turn it into the process of metabolizing it, it's going through a harder process rather than getting food sources that come from plant-based, like black beans or brown rice or tofu, things like that. So people are getting these different ideas on, oh man, if I eat this and eat plant-based foods instead of animal byproducts, I will maintain my gains and maybe have a little bit more energy. There's a Tennessee Titans player who played, it was a documentary on Netflix. The Tennessee Titans did it back, I believe it was in 2017. And I think it was Landry. One of the Tennessee Titans players had his best season. Brian Orakpo was on it. He had his best season on that.
So one player has a good season, everyone tries it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's like in baseball where they all used to wear those little like energy. Remember those little energy necklaces and energy bracelets? Like, what is that for?
Bracelet.
It's like, it's supposed to. It's like, whatever no, it doesn't work. It's no. No. All right, let's go. Let's real quick. Do you think Josh Johnson will have a chance in 2020? No. Again, value. Nick Mullins has trade value. Someone tried to trade the Niners a pick for Nick Mullins, and they turned him down last year. Why would they want to ruin that value? Why would they want to take a quarterback who was, I think Jimmy was worth a first last year, and Mullins probably was worth a fourth, roughly, between a third and a fifth. And they said no on both of them. And now they're just going to cut them both? No, they're going to want to maintain some value, I would think.
Yeah,
I would think. All right, let's move on. Future of the secondary. What do you think? What's it going to look like next year?
Depends on what they do with K'Wan Williams. I mean, we talked about it earlier. K'Wan Williams does so much and allows Saleh to do so much and opening up that playbook. As we talked about earlier, he's a slot cornerback who can blitz, he can pass rush, he can also be an extra defender and run support. And then he's also some.
Let me put it this way. Who would you rather re-sign if you could only re-sign one? K'Wan or Jason Verrett?
K'Wan.
Ooh, I would take Verrett. So you say why? Let's discuss this.
Okay, so I say K'Wan simply because, again, from the slot cornerback position, he can do so much. He adds added value, and versatility is of the utmost importance in the NFL. And when you can do more, you're adding more value to the team. It's a tough sell because Verrett's having a hell of a season. PFF graded him as All-Pro. So it's hard.
Not about PFF, but to me, Verrett is playing at a level right now that is unmatched in the Niners secondary. He's their best DB. And I think he's the best DB they've had in a long time. Now, he's scary because it could all go away like tomorrow. You're always wondering, like, is he going to step wrong? Is he going to get hurt? But for now, he's one of their best players on the team. Like, he's one of the top 5 players on the team. He's better than K'Wan. And K'Wan has injury issues too. So if they can bring them both back, yeah, they're both really good players. But if they had to choose one, I don't know. I would lean Jason Verrett, but you don't have to make that decision yet. You probably want to see the next 6 games and see if Jason Verrett makes it through them healthy. Because if he doesn't, then you go back to K'Wan.
Yeah. We have to. That's the wild card, Grant, is
injury. There's still 6 games left.
Yeah.
It ain't over. Now, Tart, goodbye.
He's gone.
Nothing against you. And you know the thing about Tart, I wouldn't be surprised if he went to a team and played better. Because the Niners don't ask their safeties to do much. He could go to Baltimore and become a Pro Bowler. So nothing against Tart. He's just history.
No, I think Tart's a really good and underrated player. I think he just needs a fresh start somewhere else to really shine. And
I agree.
It's worth staying in San Francisco. I'm not saying don't resign Jaworski Tart. I really like Tart. I think they should resign him, but I just don't think they will because money doesn't grow on trees, and they have so many other prioritizations ahead of Jaworski Tart.
That's right. And I like Tavarius more. I like him. And I like moving Marcel Harris to linebacker. I thought that was really cool. I like that move. I think he's a more impactful player than Azeez Al-Shaair. Nothing against Azeez Al-Shaair, who's a fine backup, but I like this kid better. So I don't know. I think next year the defensive backfield is going to be, I think they're going to re-sign Verrett. I think they're going to re-sign Mosley, who's restricted. I think they'll let Tart and Sherman and K'Wan walk. I think they'll draft a slot corner and maybe sign one too. Hey, if they don't have competition for K'Wan, why not bring him back? But if some other team wants to give him $6 million, then you.
Yeah, I think he's out, Grant, because I mean, like I said, he's going to be earning and looking for a second contract or a third contract now. So they brought him in as his 2017 free agent. They then re-signed him to a 3-year, I think it was $8.9 million deal. Now he's coming up for a third contract, and that third contract, that's his big payday, and he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to our final topic, and then if you have any questions after, you guys feel free to ask them. But this one's interesting to me. The future of Kyle Juszczyk. This was one of the first guys they signed, and they made him like the highest paid fullback by far. Like they set a record. And when they introduced it and explained the signing, they were like, "Look, this guy is not just a fullback. Okay, he is an offensive weapon, and the ways that we use him will dazzle you. It'll just blow your mind, all the different ways that we make this investment that you think is exorbitant seem cheap, seem totally worth it. Like all the ways we're going to use it, this guy, he's going to be a great investment. Meanwhile, he gets one target, it's like one carry, one target a game, not on the field for even 50% of their snaps. Free agent at the end of the year. Are they driving his costs down so they can get him at a cheaper price, or are they just phasing him out and moving on?
They're just phasing him out and moving on. Kyle Juszczyk, to me, he was my X factor to be the Super Bowl MVP, and he did score. And man, I thought he was going to win it for me. But anyways, Kyle Juszczyk, they're using him as a player. I remember sitting in that press conference. I think I was sitting next to you when they had that press conference, and we were looking at each other like, "What the heck? Are you serious? Awesome!" We're like, "Awesome! This is great. Yeah. We can justify paying the guy a 4-year, $21 million contract because all these great things they're saying." And I remember we were like, "Wow, that's a great signing." And then fantasy football owners were like, "Yeah, let's sign Kyle Juszczyk." So now what happens? 4 years later, he does so much, Grant. All right, he does so much.
I thought he was going to use him the way Bill Walsh used Tom Rathman.
Yes.
I was like, oh, yeah, I get that. Yeah, man, give him 4 carries a game, 3 targets. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But they don't use him like that.
Yes.
They use him like Harbaugh used Bruce Miller, like basically block or go in motion a few times, and we'll give you a token touch here or there so you don't complain. But that's about it.
Yeah. He's basically a decoy, Grant. That's all he is. He just freezes up the linebackers off play action pass, and one's a real route once in the blue moon to keep the defenses honest. That's all he does. And
he's an expensive decoy. Here's the thing, Kyle, if you're watching, I respect your game. If I was the Niners offensive coordinator, I'd be giving you the ball 5, 6, 7, 8 times a game, and so would Bill Walsh. All I'm saying is the Niners don't use you. And it's not about whether they should or should not. They should. But we're talking about, are you going to be on the team next year? And if I were your agent, I'd be calling you like, hey, man, it doesn't look like you're going to be on the team next year. We should probably start making business decisions and look to the future.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's not a knock on Kyle Juszczyk. I love Kyle Juszczyk. I think, like you just said, he should get 6 to 8 touches a game because he's so valuable. And if you're paying,
he's definitely one of their 5 best skill players on offense.
Oh,
definitely,
dude. Easily, in my opinion, he's probably a top 5 player on the team. Period.
Thank you. He should be a captain. He should be a captain, not Mike McGlinchey. He might be.
I didn't understand that one.
Yeah. Again, real quick before we move off Juszczyk, if they do transition away from him, who would replace him? I mean, he's the best fullback in the league. You can't upgrade there. So if they do, it almost would make me feel like they're not going to be a 21 personnel team anymore. And if you look at what they've invested in recently, tight ends, they might become a 12 personnel team, which is 2 tight ends, or 11, which is 3 wide. They might become more like the Rams. I don't know. This offense might continue to evolve. I mean, it will continue to evolve, but it might look way different next year.
It's going to look way different without Kyle Juszczyk because Kyle Juszczyk, like I said, opens up Shanahan's playbook based on the personnel and the formation that you just alluded to. And he does so much for that offense just as a decoy. Even if it is as a decoy, it keeps defenses on their toes and honest because they can't play their splits differently because they always have to account for Kyle Juszczyk once in the blue moon. And with him out of the picture, you're right. I think you're right, Grant. I think you just predicted what's going to happen is they're going to go more 11 personnel.
Yeah. They're going to transition to more faster players. Fine. Okay. But I think it's too bad. He spent 4 years of his prime on the Niners and got about 140 touches. That's too bad. He should have been used more, and wherever he goes next will be like the downside of his career. At least he got paid. At least he got paid more than any fullback ever really should have. So good for you, but I feel like his career was wasted a little bit. I don't know. He still has tread on his tires. He hasn't been used. I mean, dude, in that game, they had the 2nd and 1. They handed it off to him. He gained 5 yards. And then 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 4th and 1, no touches, not even on the field. Like, all right, Kyle, like, just mail it in, man. Just mail it in, dude. Ryan says Ryans have the best name. Ryan and Ryan, you guys should get to know each other. Mo Allery says, honestly, Juszczyk, Trent Taylor as a receiver. Yeah, it's not even close. I still can't get over the fact a few weeks ago against the Packers when Juszczyk got 23 snaps and River Craycraft got 50-something. It's disgusting, dude. And from what I've heard, Kevin White has been impressing all the players in training, in practice, and Shanahan's going with Craycraft. again. It's not good, because that's Shanahan's biggest problem in my thing is not playing the best players. His scheme is cool, but he doesn't consistently get the ball to his best players. It's like you should be making sure that you get X amount of touches for this guy, X amount of touches for this guy. I still think the Niners would be Super Bowl champions if they had gotten Raheem Mostert 18 touches instead of 12 in the Super Bowl. I still believe that. So, but can't prove it. Anyway, I think we're done. I think this is a good one. Our second consecutive 2 bums in a pod. People didn't think it would be possible, but it is. Eric, thank you for the inspiration and for the content. We had a lot to talk about with you today. So you gave us a title, you gave us stuff, and we really appreciate that. Eric, keep doing you. For Ryan, I'm Grant Cohn. We'll be back every Wednesday around 11 or 12, usually 11. I had to get my teeth cleaned today. So thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Peace, Rap. Peace.
Peace.